This is TWiT.
Yeah, it must be sad for you to see the bad news from iMore this week.
Yeah, not a dead tree organization, right? They're actually, see, now they've moved on. They killed all the magazines, so now they have to get the websites one by one.
It's the next thing, isn't it?
I guess, yeah. So
we
iMore
lost Ihnatko. We lost. I mean, they're slowly, the best ones are going away.
It's a tough time in web
iMore for
publishing.
me was Renee's thing. So as soon as Renee left, iMore kind of stopped existing for me. I didn't.
Yeah.
It went
Renee
on
and Serenity.
Right? So Serenity went to iMore from Macworld. Actually, right after I left Macworld, it was very funny because we had to tell them Serenity's not staying. You might not want to. You don't count on her to stay. She's not going to stay. And she went to iMore and she worked with Renee, and then. They both went to, in my blog post about it, I said they both went to larger companies. But iMore was, especially when Renee was putting all the work in, such a good website. He poured his heart and soul into that thing. Yeah. And then, there were some people who did some nice work afterward, but I feel like that was a site that benefited hugely from Renee's that guy can't be stopped, right? His energy level is
passion.
Renee's
the word passion.
Yeah,
I think he's a passionate guy.
And Mobile Nations kind of let him do that. But they have, he left, Serenity left. They have new owners.
They were bought by Future, right?
Which owns lots and lots of websites, and it feels like they are just shutting down a bunch of them that they don't find valuable anymore, and so you lose. I think Ihnatko a Future too? I think maybe it was, but anyway, they still have some, like Tom's Guide, which is still out
Future. there. Ihnatko was Future, but Tom's Guide's got to be on the chopping block, right?
Or that's the one, or they're keeping the ones around that are profitable, and and I know some people who work there, and I think that one is doing pretty well so far. But yeah, they're it's too bad, but new owners, I don't think they ever really felt that strongly about it, and it's tough act to follow with all the work that Renee and then Serenity did.
Renee is one of those people, and Ren too. There's some people that they just have this immense diesel engine of creativity and productivity inside them, and that they just from time to time they will hook up the drive shaft to one lucky thing, in which case iMore or Macworld, and then they move on and hook up that drive shaft to another thing, where it's their ambitions to do more and achieve more, not just for themselves but for the people that who consume their work, is not to be contained by any one entity for very, very long. So it's no surprise to me that both of them went on to do what they wanted.
Renee is creator liaison at YouTube.com, still does his channel on YouTube, and of course Serenity Caldwell has disappeared into the bowels of Apple Computer, as many do. This is Future's website. Meet the brands pushing Future forward, and already they've taken down Ihnatko and iMore. Tom's Guide and PC Gamer are it looks like really the only two cyber. Well, there's Tech Radar. Okay, so there's 3 computer titles or tech titles. I imagine they'll boil it down to one and just get all the advertising going through there. Unless, I don't know. Homes and Gardens.
It's pretty wild too, because this is a magazine publishing company. They from the UK. They also published Mac Addict and Mac Life in the US. But over time, the media industry keeps changing, and it's tough out there. It's really tough out there, especially if you're a smaller player. If you're not doing, very focused member supported stuff like I am, and that Andy is going to do soon, or you're doing huge volume. Right. If you fall in between those things, you kind of can't make it right now, and that's the tragedy of it.
Here's Serenity's post on Instagram. Pouring one out tonight for my old pal iMore, which announced it on Wednesday it would cease publication. She's Saturn on are these old iMore things? Yeah, I think so. There she is with Renee.
And of course, especially if you look at her Instagram, one thing remains constant. She is still doing high quality content for people who need to train for roller derby. She just keeps posting
her roller
these.
derby stuff is still very active, isn't it? Wow.
And she made it onto Team Canada for the Worlds this year too. So
oh, that's exciting.
Once again, a drive shaft of just got to do it. What I want to do, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. It's wow, I feel ashamed of everything I did on Monday.
Lazy. I know. Here's Renee's post. He says it was never just a bunch of database entries on a server farm that can be frozen in carbonite and forgotten. It was a community that will be remembered. And he also posts a bunch of wonderful photos. There's Tim Cook of him and the iMore team, Johnny Ive.
Yep.
There's a fun dinner I'd like to have been at.
Yeah, Georgia Dow and her husband.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Anyway, it's a sad day for Apple lovers.
It's sad. This is I mean, look, I went to journalism school in the early 90s.
You were so on top of it.
and I taught there later and at that same journalism school, UC Berkeley, and it was always like,
what did you teach? Journalism?
New media at the journalism school.
Kidding.
So it was literally like it was the guys who were the editors at PC World, and then when they left, a couple of us from Macworld took it over and did it for a little while. And like part of it was, I mean, that part was fun, but like also there's a question of like, do you want to be in this? Are you sure you want to be in this business? Because it was very clear even then. Like I was publishing things on the internet when I was still an undergraduate. So like it was very clear that the internet was where it was going. But all the jobs were in traditional media and you could see the reckoning coming. And now we're in that second wave of reckoning where it's not the print infrastructure, magazines and newspapers. It's the website infrastructure because of the changing way that advertising works. And there's never been a better time to be a small organization or a solo person and build a media empire. You actually can do it. And I have, it's been my job for 10 years. Well, I could do it. You did it. There are lots of other people.
Thank you for putting it in the past tense.
I said start. Right? Okay. You started it. I started it.
Next Sunday is our 1000th episode of TWiT.
And even
20 years.
Even though the podcasting versus video versus YouTube versus TikTok, but like being able to be a creator on the internet, whether you're a huge empire like what Marcus Brownlee has built, for example, or whether it's just me in my garage, the fact is you can do stuff like that. But the trade-off is that the kind of more traditional large organizations where people could kind of learn their trade and come in at an entry level and then build themselves up within a larger group with a support system, that era is fading away. And it's unfortunate because that's a great way to train and to learn what there is to do. There are drawbacks because you are young and you want to strike in new directions. And I mean, I went to a magazine and said, the internet is the future. And they're like, slow your roll, kid. But it was also a place to learn in a little bit of a safety net where there were other people there to say, don't do it that way. And now it's just kind of a free for all, but the trade-off, and that's why I'm not the old magazine guy just saying, well, in my day, we just rolled it in the dough and put out a magazine once a month.
You never applied wax to the back of a stat, have you?
Exactly. I mean, the truth is I spent 10 years doing this as my job in my garage entirely based on the fact that I can build a website and podcasts and get ads and build a membership plan and take different CMSs and membership systems off the shelf and build a whole business that's just kind of little old me. So there's incredible opportunity here too, but it is a change. It's a huge change. And seeing a big name like iMore go away is just a reminder that, not only is like nothing is forever, but like media things that you think are like solid aren't. I mean, that's the bottom line. They aren't.
And I think that when we look at where the market's going, I mean, I think all the articles seem to start to point towards things that a lot of us that have been doing this for a while going, hey, you might want to pay attention to YouTube. You might want to pay attention to YouTube. You might want to pay attention to YouTube because you talk about all the streamers and everything else. There's a report I think that came out that YouTube's like now 10% of the whole market. And the thing that is the reason that's so interesting is not because of YouTube itself, but the fact that there's all these creators that don't, when I do a shoot, sometimes it's $25,000 a day or one unit of media is $250,000 or $500,000. We have YouTubers that are making, they're happy to make $150,000, $250,000, $350,000 a year, total from what they're doing what they love to do on a very vertical market, into something very specific. I mean, crocheting or doing something else. And they're able to find that, to your point, Jason, they're able to find that market that is generating enough revenue to do what they really love to do. And that is a really lethal market to compete with, of all these individuals, digging into this vertical that they happen to be really interested in, and making enough money to live, and not trying to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, and not trying to find a big investor, and not trying to do any of those things. They're just like happy that they're making a living doing that thing. And that is, and all these tools have made that available. And now, like, when someone asks me like how to go shoot, I'm like, well, there's a bunch of cameras that I shoot with, but you can do a lot with an iPhone, or a Samsung, at the same time.
I understand what you're saying about YouTube. I think it is unfortunate because YouTube is essentially parasitic. All the money, most of the money goes to Google, not to creators. And we promote the fact that there are some very wealthy creators out of it. But a lot of people work their ass off on YouTube and never make anything at all. And Google is the one making all the money on YouTube.
Well, I mean, I think the creators that are doing well are typically, YouTube is an accelerator. They're not.
Yes.
Most of them
Benito
are making
said something
20-30%
brilliant
of the
to
market.
me on Sunday. We were talking about somebody starting a podcast, and he said he better find a way to accelerate it, something that can go viral, some sort of recommendation engine for discovery. And it's really true. That's what YouTube and TikTok and Instagram have essentially become, is discovery engines. But your point is right, Alex. You better have another way of making money.
Yeah, really smart creators that I know have Patreons, or they have like a member plan or some other
Google's
thing.
Google's going to suck you dry.
Or because you can't just be. Plus, it's not wise to just put all your eggs in that basket, right? Because they change the rules all the time. They change the algorithm all the time.
Look at the people who thought Facebook. In fact, this is one of the things that killed newspapers and print. Look at everybody who said, "Oh, Facebook's going to make us huge."
Pivot to video.
And then Facebook said, "Yeah, we're not going to do news anymore.
You're just going to kill. Yeah, we're going to take all your classified.
Because you're riding on somebody else's platform. You're not doing your own thing. So pay attention to what Alex really gets credit for starting this. Even before we started TWiT, you were doing content independently in the early 2000s.
Before. Yeah, I mean,
there was nowhere to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost everything was really a forum, and we would post stuff. We were using remember it was Hotwire, is that right? Hotwire to distribute everything. It was like a peer-to-peer solution that was mostly used for wares and
no, LimeWire you're thinking of.
No, it wasn't LimeWire. It was
Hotwire was a publication.
Hotwire. Yeah, it was there was this, I can't even remember what it was
BitTorrent,
called, but it was like it was it was a precursor to BitTorrent. So anyway, to get how old, but we were passing all these big files back and forth, and we were building our VPNs and everything else. And at the time when we were doing it, it was we were able to charge $50 a month. I mean, it was $100,000.
Hotline says Stormwolf. Hotline.
Yeah, Hotline. And it was a way that we were able to. That's the only way we could afford to move gigabytes of information around between the members, and so it was a really, so a lot of this stuff is, because I always felt like membership was going to be the thing that you always, membership and, selling things specifically or doing this or accelerating some other business. Most of the stuff I've done over the last, many years, the work that I do, publicly accelerates completely different business.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's not.
You have to have something like that, I think. And it's
absolutely every creator that on YouTube that I really, really like, that has eventually had to do like 2 or 3 videos in a row about, hey, I bought a new house. Here's a tour. Oh boy, I've got to lay new tile in my new house. Like it is a channel about crocheting, but for a month it becomes about the new house. Every single channel that has like done that is one that has like built like in-show sponsorships. Like, and now here's a message from blah blah. So yeah, YouTube is not there.
I look at my son Henry.
It's never been about sponsorships or about. For me, it's never been about sponsorships or about
it promotes your real work.
It's promoting other business,
090,
or Pixelcore or like all the business we got was all from those things, right? It was from directly or indirectly from being on shows and so on and so forth. And so, I think that the folks that understand that model, I know a lot of folks that aren't, they're making money selling books, they're making money selling not just Patreon, but like actual goods. Is where
that's where Henry makes his money.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where the revenue comes from.
Let me give him a plug because so Henry, it's a perfect example. Henry, my son Salt Hank, who's an internet chef, and watched all those YouTube videos. I think probably serendipitously, he was lucky, started doing what he calls ASMR cooking on TikTok. And TikTok just, I mean, you can say, well, he carefully cultivated the algorithm, blah, blah. For whatever reason, the algorithm promoted him, brought him to millions of fans. He was smart. He then moved to Instagram. But in neither case has he ever made money he's also on YouTube, from YouTube Shorts or YouTube or Instagram or TikTok even. But he was smart, and he started selling salt because he's Salt Hank, and that's done well. In fact, I should disclaimer, I'm an investor in the salt company. He's going to be selling pickles too, by the way. They're just delicious. Saltloversclub.com if you're interested.
This part of MacBreak brought to you by Salt.
It is really. In fact, he was on TWiT on Sunday. He's going to be on Twig on tomorrow because his cookbook comes out today. And that is actually exactly what you were saying. It's not, I think he might have a Patreon. I doubt he does. It's really about selling products.
But it's different revenue lines and building a business around it.
TikTok never gave him anything.
And this is to bring us back around to traditional media for a second. What I was going to say is that this is what you have to do now. Is there's no framework, there's no structure. Right. It used to be you would work and they'd pay you a salary, and the business would build a merch. They would sell products and they'd license this. And
in the Discord,
I told Renee we were talking about iMore. And now it's all on you, right? I mean, it's sort of like the freedom is it's always you. The scary part is you have to build whatever your business is going to be, whether it's Salt Hank or it's Six Colors or
Renee,
whatever.
Call in. Can we get Renee into the conversation?
Or get hired by YouTube. That's the other thing you could do. Or Apple.
Well, and again, the other side. In the creative world, they don't call it starving artists for nothing. This is not new to.
Yeah, you play on a subway platform for years, hoping. But discovery is the big problem, Alex. Really.
But it's always been a big problem.
But it's always been.
There was
we used to be AM radio. There used to be cable TV.
But even then you have artists. I mean, I was a music director for an alternative rock station. I watched artists that should have been successful never go anywhere. Not because it was just bad timing. They released their album on the same day that U2 did, or they released, everything was all built up for something, and it was just bad timing, or the something got bought or something. You see bands. We would often tell bands, you're going to need one person in the music industry that believes in you, or you're never going to make it. So it wasn't even an algorithm. It was like literally luck of the draw. There's a great story about Coldplay's PR manager. She's still their PR manager, but she believed in them. She worked in a business. She spent years promoting them while they were playing in little bars and little places, and no one wanted to sign them. And she just kept on working it until suddenly they took off, and now they're obviously one of the biggest bands. But without her, they probably would have dissolved, into nothing. And that's what you feel like a lot of these bands are inevitable, or a lot of artists are inevitable, but they're usually not. It is. There's many great artists that just never get out of the gate because they didn't have that right person to jump onto the bandwagon. And the algorithm, I think, is actually way fairer than the right person, to see the stuff that you have there. And so I think that I think that as creators, this has been the challenge forever.